Welcome everybody to Grumpy Old Men. I'm Tim and I'm grumpy, but even grumpier than me is Steve Ross.
Hi.
I've also got the ducks.
And they're grumpy as hell today. For some reason, they're really pissed off.
We don't have names for them yet.
You can see it in their face, can't you? Yeah, we're still open to names for the ducks.
One thing that I find interesting in Thailand, and there's, I think there is a cautionary tale in this, medication. Now, in some ways, you can march into a pharmacy and you can get all sorts of prescription antibiotics and a lot of other stuff as well.
Weed now.
Yeah, well, not at a pharmacy.
There are some pharmacies that are opening cannabis dispensaries as well.
I suppose.
Yeah, because it's been licensed for medical use for 2 years. So they're set up. They've got the infrastructure. They're ready to sell drugs.
And that may be, in the future, depending what happens after this election, the only place that you actually buy it.
Yeah, well, legally. Yeah, the only place you can buy it legally. The cops have always been selling pot in Thailand. Sure. Yeah.
And guess who's not happy about the current situation?
Yeah, the cops aren't making money off
wink,
this
wink.
New business model. But there are plantations all over Thailand where they've been growing weed for 30 years.
And apparently, I'm told, not particularly good weed.
Yeah, well, for an educated consumer like myself, no. Typically, it's called kiao.
And YouTube, by the way, we're talking about gardening and removing the weeds from
broccoli.
the garden.
Broccoli. It's
broccoli.
Wink, wink, broccoli.
So, but medication-wise, there are so many things that you can get, like antibiotics, which in so many other countries are very hard to get unless you've got a doctor saying, we'll try this. But here, and at doctors, they will also prescribe antibiotics for just about anything.
Yes, for viruses.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
But you've got the opposite problem where you've got medication that you used to need or was of value to you in the United States, but you can't get it here.
Yeah, I have always had critically high blood pressure. I didn't see a doctor.
How high, Steve?
How high was it? Unmedicated, I was 200 over 130. That was when I was 40 years old. I hadn't seen a doctor for the 7 years I was on Phuket. I went back to Iowa. I got insurance, a job with insurance. I went to see a doctor. He said, dude, you're like through the roof. So they did a battery of tests. They put me on all kinds of different drugs, hydrocortisone, hydrochlorothiazide, spironolactone, metoprolol, lisinopril, all kinds of stuff. And they managed.
I'm so impressed you can remember all those.
Well, I was a medical transcriptionist for 25 years.
There you go. I'm not impressed then.
I can also spell them correctly. I edited medical documentation 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 25 years. I can spell a lot of disease. But at any rate, it kind of worked. But then when I was 55 or something, I had a body CT, an abdominal CT, and they found an adenoma in my right adrenal gland. And this is like a grain of sand inside an oyster. It has been provoking my right adrenal gland to pump adrenaline into my blood 24/7, at least since adolescence and probably since childhood. So the doctor's reading the scan. He says, wow, did you have a lot of behavior problems when you were a kid? When I was a kid, yeah, they've never stopped. Yeah, I've always had behavior problems. And so they put me on a drug called eplerenone. That is the chemical name. It is sold under the brand Inspra. So I came here, and it boom, immediately knocked my blood pressure down into normal range. I was very happy. So I've taken that drug every day since 2008 or 2009. I come to Thailand May of last year. I've got 6 months worth of medications. They run out after 6 months, and I was able to locally source all my other medications, the metoprolol, the lisinopril, the omeprazole, but not the Inspra, not the one that really works on my blood pressure. So without a prescription, I can't order this online. And both of the two private physicians we have in practice on Turtle Beach have both thrown me out of their offices. Oh, okay. Tim, what's your blood pressure?
Oh, funny you should ask. Guess.
Well, you seem very calm and sedate to me, so I would guess 130 over 80.
120 over 80. It's been like that ever since forever.
Yeah, lucky you. Good for you.
Yeah, lucky me. And
Keep it that way.
Yeah. And when you do go to a Thai doctor, they will take your blood pressure. Oh, I stubbed my toe. Oh, we have to take your blood pressure. They always take your blood pressure.
Sure, vitals.
And if it's too high, they say, oh, I'll just do it again. Just take a couple of deep breaths, and it's always wildly different.
Yeah.
I don't think those machines are very
No, and
very
the
accurate.
practitioners, the skill. I was an orderly in a psychiatric hospital. I had to take 30 vitals every day: respiration, heartbeat, and blood pressure. And you ask the 10 a.m. question: have you had a bowel movement today? You go around and ask 30 strangers in the unit with a clipboard: have you had a bowel movement today? Have you had a bowel movement today? I get paid to do that.
Steve,
What?
have you had a bowel movement today?
2. That's my baseline. That's my norm. But at any rate, so this drug I cannot get. So about 4 months ago, I just ran out and I stopped taking it. And we're going to see what effect that has.
Okay, more important, I mean, okay, so we hope you're able to get that under control.
Me too.
But there is a cautionary tale that if you are coming to live in Thailand, that you need to have a good think
Yes.
about whether you can get that drug here.
Yeah.
And you need to do some research if you are on any sort of medication, because it may not be available here.
Yeah, it's not.
But what can you do? You get multiple
I don't
scripts back in your home country, or what?
Well, you can bank scripts in the United States. You can bank scripts. So if I had thought to do that before I left, I could have had my private physician prorate dates on various scripts, and then my mother could take this to, or my son or a cousin or whoever could take these scripts one by one when it was necessary to a pharmacy, fill them, and mail me my drugs. I don't have that option. I didn't do that, and like I said, they don't sell it here. So I don't think, even if these 2 physicians hadn't thrown me out of their offices, I don't think I would
Tell that story on another day.
Yeah. 2 stories. But 2 physicians, 2 times I was thrown out, 2 stories. But yeah, I'm just living without this drug, and I've lost about 15 pounds in the 10 months I've been here. I am a much more calm, I think, happy, contented person than I was 10 months ago. And I'm going to see next time. I've not had my blood pressure taken in the last 4 months. And we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But if you're thinking of retiring here,
Yes.
or you're a retiree watching here, you know, everybody talks about health insurance. They talk about investments. They talk about owning property. They talk about finding a bed partner, whatever they talk about. Nobody ever talks about this, that you can walk into any pharmacy here and say, I want 100 Valium tablets, and they'll be very happy to sell it to you. Viagra, Cialis, anything. They'll be happy. Anti-anxiety, anti-depression. They'll be, if you know the name of it, you can buy it in Thailand over the counter. But this one drug, for me, you cannot buy. So there might be something
But
you take.
it is one of quite a few drugs that you can't get here.
Probably.
So, just do your research on that. Let's talk about bars, because one thing I've really noticed in the time I've been here, and it's certainly accelerated during COVID, was the sort of an existential change to the well-known, well-trodden bar scene in Thailand. And of course, you know, when we think about the bar scene, we think about Pat Pong and Soy Cowboy,
Walking Street
in
Boycott
Pattaya,
Road, yeah.
Soy something or other in Pattaya, Bangla Road. But there
Every town and village has a commercial sex industry.
But they
anywhere with Christmas lights strung outside.
Oh,
Yeah.
Steve knows.
There's 2 karaoke just up the street. Yeah.
But it has gone through a big change, and there are multiple reasons. I just wanted to flesh a few of them out. But part of it has been the emergence of things like OnlyFans, and also using things like YouTube to sort of say, hey, come and give me a call. TikTok, especially things like Twitter and OnlyFans, where you can put on R-rated stuff, like XXX rated stuff.
Yep.
And people
advertising.
don't have to leave home anymore to get their jollies.
No.
How do you sort of see that bar scene changing?
Well, yeah, I think COVID, particularly, you know, the whole bar scene got shut down for 3 years, or for the most part shut down. And it's all e-tail now. It's all girls.
E-tail. Let me write that down. I'm going to use that one. E-tail.
Copy, trademark 2023, Steve Russ. You heard it here, folks. But there's a variety of changes. First of all, it used to be there was nothing else to do. Say you lived on Phuket, as I did in the 1980s, and yeah, Clive, I mentioned it again, live with it. And then, guys spent a lot longer.
Sorry, who's Clive?
Oh, Clive's a troll who just loves to come on and say, Steve mentions all the time that he was on Phuket in the 1980s. When is he going to shut up about that?
What's his surname?
Baxter.
Oh, God, I was going to say it's Clive Baxter.
Yeah.
Hi, Clive.
Hey, Clive. What's going on, dude? So at any rate, I call him Tinkerbell because it's not his real name. Clive Baxter's not his real name.
Go on.
So anyway, so at any rate, yeah, so at that time, guys would spend 8 hours a day in the bars because there was nothing else to do. There was no full-on TV at home. There were no full-on movie theaters on Phuket. So they'd go to the bar in the afternoon and stay there till closing time and drink beer and play Connect Four and play dominoes and watch a Faulty Towers video, a VHS video in the bar with the girls. Tell me the last time you saw a domino set in a bar in Thailand. When was the last time you saw Connect Four? These days, if people want to play a game, they play a game on their phone.
Got music clips from YouTube up on the screen.
Right, music clips from TikTok and YouTube and Cube compilations. And if they go to a bar, they're going there to find a sex partner and take her home. And it's all much more abbreviated now. And I think that's the consumer end. On the producer end or the provider end, the women working in the bars now are no longer interested in long time. It used to be that every Falang who walked in the bar was a possible ticket to Switzerland and a possible ticket to a big, beautiful home and a big car and many fat, happy, healthy children and a home for your mom and a buffalo for your brother. And now, no, they don't care about long time. They only want short time.
So a lot of the excuses that I've seen for what I basically see as exploitation has been, it's helping their families as well. But I think that situation has changed a lot too.
Perhaps. They still will use it. They will still tell you, my dad's buffalo is sick. Or the classic, the funeral scam, which is the oldest scam in the book. Funerals in Thailand are public events. So a woman will go to any public funeral and she'll put 20 baht in an envelope, she'll eat a free meal, and then she'll go take her picture in front of the casket with the photograph of the deceased. Then she'll go to the Farang and say, I just found out my brother died. I had to go to his funeral today. See, here I am in this dress I'm wearing right now at the funeral. You see, my brother died. And the family needs 20,000 baht to burn him. Otherwise, they'll simply throw his body out in the road. I need 20,000 baht, tilak da, for my brother, to bury my brother. Yeah, it's the oldest scam. If any bar girl ever shows you a picture of her at a funeral, walk away. Just walk away. It's a scam. So they will still use that. But no, I think these days, the women in the bars have changed. And I'm going to say something from a cis hetero point of view, and sue me. But the women in the bars have changed. They're no longer the innocent country gal who just walked in off the rice paddies. And they're no longer the prettiest girls in the village, right? Who used to be bookmarked by their families to go into that industry back in the day. Now, those women, the women who are family-oriented, the women who would support their families, and the pretty girls are pretties. They're models. They're working as receptionists. They've got an education now. The level of education has risen abruptly.
Can I also just mention pretties? Mm-hmm. Pretties are a bit of a thing. They're like female models, well, sometimes they're female. Yeah. And you'll see them at like car shows, draping themselves over the bonnet, heels that big. Yeah. And if they stand next to you, they're like this high. Yeah. So that's a pretty.
Any product, any industry show. I went to a cannabis conference a couple weeks ago on Phuket. And
you didn't even come and say hello to me.
I didn't say hello to anybody.
You didn't invite me.
I don't hang around Phuket. But there were pretties there. There were pretties, selling nutrients selling soils, selling grow bags, selling all the equipment. It's a very expensive hobby. Growing broccoli is a very expensive hobby, and nobody should be doing it. Leave it to the professionals. It's just a waste of your money and your time. But there were pretties there selling those products, like there were bathroom remodels or snow tires or any other product. And so to wrap it up anyway, I think the type of woman, And I only know, again, cis hetero. I don't know what type of man is working in the sex industry, what type of gatoy. But the type of woman in the bars has changed radically, both appearance-wise and attitude-wise. And I think the level of exploitation, every relationship in Thailand is transactional. That relationship particularly, there was always exploitation on both sides, and it was almost a contest to see whether the man or woman would exploit their partner more.
Yeah.
And now I think it's very clearly shifting to, if you walk into a bar now, you've got a target on your back. You're just, expect to be exploited, to be used, to be ripped off. So.
What are they selling this week?
Oh.
Strawberries again? They're certainly having fun doing it. Could be early Songkran. What?
Oh, it's political.
Voting, yes.
Yeah, it's political.
Flogging number 2, by the way.
Boom Jai. My God, Boom Jai has a jingle that is just annoying.
Boom Jai Thai.
Yeah, they have a jingle on these trucks that's just grating and offensive.
So we'll move on.
All right.
Final topic for the day, and this is more serious. And recently we had the visit of a Taiwan president travelling through America on her way back to Taiwan, and she met up with the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, third most powerful politician in the United States. And of course, as you would expect, China got their knickers in a knot, and everybody's wondering how are the Chinese going to respond. In the past, it's been a lot of huffing and puffing and hands on hips, and nothing really much happens. What really could happen, though? I mean, this is the thing. There's not much retaliation they can do rather than just making some noise about it.
Yeah.
We live in the part of the region which is going to be dominated by this story over the next period, probably way beyond our lives. How do you sort of see the whole Taiwan thing washing out?
I don't know. All I know about geopolitics is what Tim tells me in the mornings. But I do know that I don't think there's any chance of any kind of ground invasion or traditional military response. I think the only reason we still have traditional ground wars is because people make a ton of money selling bombs and missiles and bullets and uniforms and boots and canteens and helmets and everything else. Otherwise, they don't do anything anymore. We saw America go rattle its saber in Afghanistan and Iraq for 20 years to absolutely no purpose, absolutely no profit at all.
Zero benefit to anybody.
Anybody.
Thousands
and it
of
was
lives
obvious from the very first day of both of those silly wars that nothing was ever going to come out of that. But we still have to sell bombs and boots and canteens. But I don't think the Chinese would invade Taiwan just to help out their arms industry. There wouldn't be enough profit in it, and you would destroy the prize. You would destroy the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Going in militarily would destroy all the factories and infrastructure that produces all the electronics that you want. That's why you're going to Taiwan.
When you think of Taiwan, I mean, the number one thing you think about is those microchips in computers. They are the biggest producers. They make the fastest chips. They are the grand prize. But of course, both the Chinese and the Americans, they buy millions, billions of dollars worth of microchips from Taiwan. And in many ways, neither of them want to upset the apple cart.
No. Let me say the first thing I think of is mushu pork. But
is what?
Mushu pork. Yeah. Anything Chinese, my first thought is mushu pork. But at any rate, I don't think, China has kind of locked themselves into this. They've promised their people they'll get Formosa back, which they didn't care about at the time when Chiang Kai-shek went there. It was just an island full of coconut trees.
A little island.
A little island full of coconut trees. Formosa, let him have it.
Can I ask you, your American friends, if you got a map out or one of those big world globes and you said, point to Taiwan, how would they go?
No, they wouldn't know how to do it. I'll tell you what, 25 years I lived in the United States, and people would say, particularly if I was invited to eat Thai food, this is Steve. He lived in Taiwan for 7 years.
You did?
No.
Oh,
I lived in Thailand, but to Americans, Taiwan and Thailand are the same. They don't know. They don't know.
Right.
These are, lovely people, my friends, my colleagues, my peers. But no, world geography is if it's still taught in American schools, it is not taught well.
It's all very well for people who are sitting at home in their comfortable homes in America thinking, oh, we'll invade Taiwan and defend it. They wouldn't use that accent, of course, and we'll defend it against, uphold democracy. But it's a long way from the US, and it would just be another one of these conflicts, a long way,
profit.
with no upside for anybody.
And very little moral justification, because if your reason for going in there is to defend democracy, well, you just spent 20 years defending democracy in Afghanistan. How'd that go? You just spent 20 years defending democracy in Iraq. How'd that go? Who are they electing?
Closer to home,
right?
Vietnam.
How did that go? There's very little reason for it, but they're locked in. For 50 years, the Chinese have been rattling their sabers, and the Americans have been rattling their sabers.
And profiting very well off each other with trade.
Yeah,
and they continue to.
Yeah, nobody in America wants to go send gunboats for gunboat diplomacy to ring Taiwan, and then see their Walmart emptied of products. And if China's not sending us any.
If you're sitting in the war room in Beijing, you'd be thinking, I wonder how those Russians are doing. Let's just check.
How are things going in Ukraine?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be going very well.
And all the Chinese generals, you look all over Asia, North Korea, China, you see these generals in photo ops with their chests covered with medals. These guys have never been in a war. Nobody living or nobody serving currently in the Chinese army or the North Korean army has ever been in a war. They don't know. They don't know what they're doing. They're just for show. It's pomp and circumstance. And so they don't want to go in there. They don't want to go in and screw it up and be, publicly humiliated and lose face all over the world. So, I don't see it happening, but I don't see politicians ever shutting up about it either.
Yeah, interesting situation, which us talking about how it's not going to happen probably guarantees that next week China's going to get the ships out.
Steve and Tim cover the war.
And the yellow ducks. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you, Steve.
Wow, that went quickly.
There's a link in the description of this video if you'd like, I have no idea why, to watch Steve's channel where he plays with action figures. Dolls, and
dolls, dollies, whatever.
You can enjoy his program and Steve's particular wit. But you can also subscribe to TNT, click the like button, all that YouTube stuff. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Tim. I enjoy this very much, and thank you. I love you guys.
Especially Clive.
Yeah, Clive, you're my brother. I'd give you a kidney if you needed one.